Unit 2, and we have completed IO bus, IO interface modules, IO versus memory bus, isolated versus memory mapped IO. So today's target is to start asynchronous data transfer, understand what is stroke control and handshaking, but not in detail. In the next class, in detail handshaking will happen. Stroke control will try to finish today. But we also have promised yesterday that we'll be recovering or at least revisiting these topics. Okay, because at the end I might have rushed a bit, or which require a bit more focused attention to understand isolated versus memory mapped IO. That may be the reason. Yeah. So let us come back to where we had started. First of all, tell me, is the screen visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So as you can see, we had started unit 2, which is input output organization and IO interface. Initially, we referred peripheral devices like keyboard, monitor, printers, magnetic tapes, hard disk. Then we tried to understand ASCII characteristics importance. This ASCII table we referred. Then we started input output interface, and this is the diagram we had referred for input output interface. This is your CPU. So CPU has IO bus, and this IO bus has separate lines like data lines, address lines, and control lines. And every peripheral device has its own interface unit. Every peripheral device has its own interface unit. So it means the CPU, when it wants to talk to keyboard or when it wants to talk to printer, it will not do it directly. It will be doing it through the interface units. It will be doing it through the interface units, and it will be activating the requisite lines, address line, data lines, and control lines. Accordingly, those will be decoded by the interface units. And every peripheral device also has its own peripheral controller. For example, to control the printer, there may be a printer controller. To control the printer, there may be a printer controller, like that. So we also try to highlight the difference between the peripheral device and CPU, saying that I had given my example. I want to run with the world's fastest runner like Usain Bolt. Then whatever are the differences, those differences have to be Venkatesh and Vikramaditya. Okay. So, whatever are the differences, I try to highlight the differences between the peripherals and the CPU, saying that the data transfer rate of peripherals may be slow, CPU may be fast, synchronization may be required, codes and formats are different, operating modes may be different. Peripheral devices are electromechanical, electromagnetic devices, while the CPU is electronic device, and hence this interface unit is required for communication between the CPU and peripheral device. And hence, as there are differences between the CPU and the peripheral devices, as there are differences between the CPU and peripheral devices, CPU will be talking to these peripheral devices through the interface units, through the interface unit. So then we try to understand IO bus versus memory bus. Is it not? So here, if you look at this diagram, by looking at this diagram, what I come to know, CPU is talking to which devices? Tell me, somebody fastly tell me. CPU is talking to which devices in this diagram? Or CPU is talking to means communicating, uh, transferring data, receiving and sending data to which devices? By looking fastly, tell me so that I can move fast. CPU is talking to which devices here? Somebody please take up.
Yeah, CPU is talking to the interface device with the interface.
Yeah, but
Bus
through the
system.
interface, it is talking to which devices?
Keyboard, printer, display terminal, magnetic
Uh,
devices.
what are these devices called? Together, collectively, they will be called as what?
Peripheral devices.
Fantastic. Or they are input-output devices. They are input-output device. Is it not? Our printer is an output device. Magnetic tape is an output device. Magnetic disk can be input-output device. Keyboard is an input device. Monitor is an output device, like that. So for talking to the input output devices, CPU has its own input output bus. But CPU also talks to memory, right? CPU also talks to memory. It means CPU requires memory bus also to talk to the memory. Memory bus also to talk to the memory. The memory itself can talk to CPU or it can talk to the peripheral devices. So now when such is the scenario, there is a chance that there may be a separate input output bus and separate memory bus. It means these are separated. Like this, instead of here IO bus, there may be a memory bus. Is it not? So there you can visualize two separate diagram. One diagram consists of input output bus. The other diagram consists of the memory bus. So that may be one scenario. Okay, separate buses. One bus for the memory, one bus for the IO. The other scenario may be here in the diagram. You can have memory or IO bus. It means the bus is being shared. It means only single bus is there. Common bus is there for memory and IO. Okay. In such case, the control lines may be separate. The control lines may be separate. Okay. Okay. The third scenario is common bus is there, same bus is there. They also have common control lines. They also have common control lines. So these are the three scenarios. I'm just repeating what we had discussed yesterday because we wanted to connect with the later topics at the fag end of the session, that is isolated versus memory map. Now, as far as the first scenario is concerned, when we are having two different buses, so they have different data bus, different address bus, different control bus. Okay. So one data bus for memory, one data bus for input output. Like that, one address bus for memory, one address bus for input output, one control bus for memory, one control bus for input output. So basically, you are having two separate buses. One bus will be the input output bus, the other bus will be the memory bus. That is the first scenario. What is the first scenario? Common bus, sorry, separate bus. The second scenario is common bus. When it is common bus, you have separate control lines. When it is common bus, you have separate control lines. Now, in the first scenario, in the first scenario, to make the first scenario possible, we had mentioned that you require something called as IOP, IO processor. You require something called as IO processor. Now, this is where we said we'll repeat ourselves so that we are sure about this topic. But before that, let us also not forget if there is an IO processor that is also called as a data channel. The IO processor is also called as a data channel. Now focus on this topic now. Isolated versus memory mapped. Isolated versus memory mapped. Now, you closely follow the highlighted words as well as whatever I am saying. We want to understand it in a better way. What is the meaning of this isolated input output, memory mapped input output? Isolated input output, memory mapped input output. Now, the first scenario, let us say there is a common bus. There is a common bus. Common bus means who will be sharing input output and the memory will be sharing this common bus. Input output and the memory will be sharing this common bus. What is the purpose of this? They want to communicate with the CPU. They want to communicate with the CPU. Whenever there is a common bus, whenever there is a common bus, to highlight that this is from memory or that this is from input output, you have separate read and write lines. You have separate read and write lines. This is the first scenario. Remember, boys, common bus. Common bus means who is sharing input output and memory are sharing. But to highlight that this is from memory or this is from input output, For that, you have separate read and lines, write lines for this common bus. Okay. Now, what is the job of the CPU? The job of the CPU is to tell this address is for memory or this address is for peripheral devices. So accordingly, those addresses will be enabled. Those addresses will be enabled. If it is for peripheral device, the interface unit will be enabling that. The interface unit will be enabling that. Okay. Now, whenever I want memory transfers like read and write to and from memory, so the memory read and the memory write lines are enabled. Okay. Now, in such a case, all the IO interface addresses, all the IO interface addresses are isolated from the addresses assigned to the memory, from the addresses assigned to the memory. This is called as isolated IO method. This is called as isolated IO method. I'll repeat once again, and I'll just confirm from one or two students who are focusing. I'll not force anybody to tell, but if somebody is focusing and interested in answering, then it is well and good. So what we are trying to understand here, we are trying to understand here the meaning of isolated input output method. We are trying to understand here the meaning of isolated input output method. So what is the meaning of isolated input output method? Isolation happens. Isolated means what? Separate. తెలుగులో ఏమంటారు, నన్ను సెపరేట్ చేసి నాతో ఎవరు మాట్లాడట్లే, నన్ను సెపరేట్ పెట్టేసిండ్రు. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ఈస్ ఐసోలేటెడ్. ఓకే, ఎవరిని ఐసోలేట్ చేసిండ్రు? ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ అడ్రసెస్ ని. We have isolated the input output interface addresses ni. Okay, దేంతో ఐసోలేట్ చేసినాము? అడ్రసెస్ అసైన్ టు మెమరీ. మెమరీకి ఏవైతే అడ్రసెస్ ఇచ్చామో దానికి IO ఇంటర్ఫేసెస్ అడ్రసెస్ కి ఐసోలేషన్ చేశాము. ఇది ఎప్పుడు జరుగుతుంది? ఎప్పుడంటే whenever we want memory transfers, whenever we want memory transfer, such case is called as isolated IO method. Isolated IO method. Now, let us look at here. The isolated IO method isolates memory and IO addresses. Okay, then you highlight this. Isolated IO method isolates memory and IO addresses. Why? Because memory address values should not get affected by the interface unit addresses. Okay, which has its own address space. Now, this is one way of doing things. What is the one way of doing things? Isolated IO method. The other way of doing thing is same address space will be used for both memory and input output. Same address space being used for memory and input output. Okay. Now, here what will happen is the read signal and the write signal, they have only one set. Okay, and this read and write signals are not separated as if this is for memory and this is for IO. Okay, so you can say you have single read and write signals. Okay, when such is the scenario, that will be called as memory mapped IO. That will be called as memory mapped IO. In such a scenario, your interface unit will be visualized as a memory system. Your interface unit will be visualized as a memory system. Okay. Now, this will help in reducing the memory also. Hopefully, you understood this highlighted thing, the isolated versus memory mapped IO. The isolated versus memory mapped IO. If somebody who is listening keenly or who has read it, the textbook, wants to answer this difference, you are welcome. What is it? Isolated input output method versus memory mapped input output method. Can somebody take up this? Yeah, somebody wants to answer? Okay, at least somebody wants to confirm that they understood. Have you understood this? If you understood, put in the chat box yes. What topic is this? You can mention the name of the topic, or you can just say yes, we understood. Say something so that I can go further. I'm waiting, boys. Excellent. I got from Saket the answer. He understood. This is
Yeah, yes, sir.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we'll try to move further now. Let us look at this diagram. Okay, I request all of you to just look at this diagram for few seconds. I'll keep it for a few seconds. Then we'll try to understand this. Okay, so this is the example of actually IO interface unit. Okay, we have written it as example of IO interface unit. So let us try to recollect our IO interface unit also. This is our input output interface unit. Interface for keyboard and monitor, interface for printer, interface for disk, interface for tape, and the CPU is communicating with this interface unit through the input output bus. It has separate data address and control lines. So the example interface unit is mentioned in your book, prescribed syllabus book of Maurice Monod. From that this diagram is taken. If you look at here, what you are seeing two data registers which are called as port A and port B. Two data registers which are called as port A and port B. It means data can be input and data can be output. Data can be input and data can be output through these ports. Okay. The interface unit talks to the CPU with the help of this bidirectional data bus. The data comes to the bus buffers. Okay, whether it comes from CPU or whether it goes from input output devices, it stays here at the buffers. You also have control register, status register. You also have this timing and control register. For example, this chip select and register select RS1 and RS0, they define the address lines. And these two are defining the read and write. The IO read, input read, output read, input write, output write. IO write, basically read and write. You remember it as read and write. Now this is our diagram. And this diagram indicates what? The diagram basically indicates, and as an example, it is an example of your interface unit. And where is this interface unit located? It is in between the CPU and the peripheral devices. So that you have to remember. Let us look at few of the highlighted points. We are seeing port A and port B, right? This is port A, port B. These are two registers. Here you can see total 4 registers. This register, this register, this register, this register. Total 4 registers you are saying. But port A and port B registers are for input output data. Okay. So you are also seeing control register, status register, bus buffer, timing and control circuit. So basically we have listed out. This is port A, port B, control register, status register, bus buffer and timing and control circuits. Okay. Next is CPU is communicating to the IO unit through the data bus. CPU is communicating to the IO unit through the data bus. It means The interface unit talk to the CPU. The interface unit talks to the CPU using this bidirectional data bus. Using this bidirectional data bus. If you look at chip select and this RS0 and RS1, they are used to determine addresses assigned to the interface. Okay, so this is your chip select. This is your register select 1, register select 0. Together these three will determine the address assigned to the interface unit. It means the interface unit will be decoding that address post that. For example, this is the table here. If it is 100 from chip select and register select, it will be port A, 101 port B, 110 control register, 111 status register. It means that particular register will be activated. That particular register will be activated. It is on those lines. Now you also have read and write lines. Read and write lines. So here you have the read and write lines that specify what? That specify whether it is input or whether it is output. That specify it is input or output. Okay. Then you basically use these port registers, control register, status register collectively, which are total 4. Port A, port B, control register, status register. All these four will directly talk. All these four will directly talk to whom? They will directly talk to the peripheral device. They will directly talk to the peripheral device. They will directly talk to the input output device. They will directly talk to the input output device. So let us just highlight what theory is written once we try to decode the diagram. The input output data, okay, will be transferred from port A and port B. The interface unit, it can operate with an output device, it can operate with an input device, or with a device which does both. Okay, for example, if it is a printer, it has an output device. So in that case, it will be only giving output. If it is a character reader, then it is an input device. If it is a disk, it is both, is it not? So what will happen is a command is given. A command is given to the input output device. Okay, how this command is given? By sending bits to the interface register. By sending bits to the interface register. So here you don't have that commands which we referred in the previous class and which you call them as function codes, or we said that the function codes are the commands basically. Okay. Here, as the control is directly sent to the control register, these function codes are not required. So this is some theory part which we had tried to connect with this diagram, and this diagram basically is an example of an IO interface. This diagram basically is an example of an IO interface. Okay, so I want to divert here a little bit today for some change. So what I'll be doing here is I'll be stopping